You want me? No. Oh, far look that one, ain't I? I've had a kid, it's in gob. Think gob. Lovely bite. It was a lovely bite. You'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
You are? What was that you got, Alex? A cart? Did you get a cart? No. Quite enjoying this. Now that is a beautiful fish, that. Yeah, a fully scaled mirror, that. No, no, no. £4. What, in the water? Yeah, it's a good idea, that, actually. Yeah, it's a good idea. Say that again. Yeah. Got a bigger now? You are? That's the smallest one I've had, Alex, that. Sorry, mate. You know what? I will. I will. What approach have you took today? I've used... I'll be honest, I'll tell the audience, you've mainly used everything and everything's worked. It's been that black. Corn, pellet, maggot, doesn't matter. How many have you fouled up? More than you've caught, or? I've fouled up the odd fish. million.
I don't think they'll go.
Might have once.
Is it true what they're saying? You could add everyone else's weight up and they still won't beat you. 44.10. There.
No. 38, 37.
34.3. It was nice having that hour off for dinner together, wasn't it? At my house.
Mate.
We came for chicken dinner at my house.
No.
They did.
You've ever run a chance now? He's had 12 coffee breaks. What sandwich did you have today, Nick? Kind of on whiskey.
I'm at time. You will be a real legend when you die.
Can I have a picture?
Oh, right, go on. Hey, wait a sec. Put them in there. I think you've won the Lindholme Lakes Open match on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Cheers.
The £137 too.
Alex, do the honours for you. I'll just make it. I'll throw it in.
Right, Thursday Open match at Lindholme. To be honest with you, I got up in the morning and it took me a few minutes to debate whether to actually go. It was freezing, proper cold. I half expected to get to the complex to find ice all over the place, all over the lake. We're all on the Bonsai, but it was actually quite clear. And with it being the midweek Christmas match, the turnout was brilliant. There were 38 in the match. And I thought, with it being all on the Bonsai, there's going to be somewhere where there's going to be a few fish. And I drew peg 48, which up to maybe the last few days, that area has produced the odd match. I won a match off it about 3 weeks ago, but I had to cast. I had a load of space to my left towards 44, and the next angler was Paul Christie on peg 41, and I've caught in front of like 45 peg. And apart from that, and Paul Wright's won a match there about 2 weeks ago, but there's not been a lot of fish caught in that area. In fact, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I drew 52 and 56 consecutive days, and I caught next to nothing. So it's not been a consistently good area of the lake. However, the day before, yesterday, Pete Riley won the match off my peg 48, and with £60, and Paul Yates was on 52, and he's had £54. So obviously, all of a sudden, out of the blue, a few fish have decided to move in it. So when I drew it, I did fancy it, simply because you've got a little bit more space than everybody else because there were so many on the lake. And my plan was to fish bomb and corn and bomb and bread, and I might have had like 20 minutes spare before the start of the match, so I just set the pole up just in case. And I'm glad I did, because I tell you what's happened. I've just set one rig up for out in the open water, and I've gone to plumb it up, and it was absolutely solid with fish. Only in the space of about 3 metres square, but there was a massive ball of fish in front of me. So my plan was, and straight away, as soon as I realised there was some fish there on the pole line, just dog maybe bread or corn at 3/4 depth. It was 5 foot, so I set my rig at like 12 inches off the bottom. And it was just a mad day, to be honest with you. I've shot a time and I've shipped out, and it took me about 3 seconds after my float settling for me to hook my first carp, and I've more or less caught at 14 and 16 metres steadily all day until the last hour and a half, when 2 ducks have decided to have a fight in my peg, and that's kind of like killed it a bit, but I've still managed to put the odd fish in the net. I've fouled up quite a lot of fish because there were so many there, and I've ended up catching between half depth and 18 inches off the bottom, and that's been the optimum depth where the fish seem to be moving about at. And I've just had a fantastic day's fishing. It's like what I said in the video, I'd say it's 1 in 1,000 matches when that happens, where I can't remember the last time in the winter, I don't think it's ever happened to me, where I've been on so many fish. I remember a match maybe a couple of years ago when I had £156 on the strip, but I was catching feeding fish that day. I never lost any, but there were so many fish in front of me that actually didn't want to feed on this particular match. And it's only because there's so many there that it forces the odd one to feed to open the mouths. So I've ended up with £137, and that's won the match. Alex Doherty was to my right, and he's been on the edge of them, and he's caught a few, but he's also lost a lot as well. He's had £54, and Gary Jubb has had £56. So you could tell how many fish were actually in front of me. So after the match, what I did was, out of curiosity, I wanted to see how many fish were there after the match had finished. Not forgetting that I've had £137, Alex has had £54, we've lost a few fish. Surely it's going to spook them. So I've loaded the camera in. Now the annoying thing about it was, by this time the sun had dropped. And obviously as the sun drops, the light gets poorer in the water. But I was still amazed how many fish were actually there. And what happened was, the first time I lowered the camera in, I've lowered it in really, really slowly, so obviously it's getting darker and darker in the water as the camera goes further down. But it was quite clear. And what's happened is, there were that many fish there. On my first lowering down, the camera sits upside down, so the start and the stop buttons underneath the camera as I'm lowering it in the water. I've hit the back of a fish, and it's turned the camera off. And I've been sat there then for maybe 3 minutes doing some filming, not knowing that my camera's being switched off. So then I brought it back out, and I've turned the camera back on, lowered it in again, and the difference between the first bit of footage that you're going to see and the second bit of footage that you're going to see, within 3 minutes, it's like darkness. The difference is unbelievable. So it shows, when the light does drop, how it affects the water clarity. And this is why we catch later on in the match. But I was amazed how many fish are actually in my swim, which just shows, look, they're not feeding, because if they were feeding, I'd have weighed in a colossal amount of fish. So yeah, a very interesting day, to be honest with you. So yeah, great day's fishing. What more can you ask for this time of the year?